Hey there and welcome to another PST Toots spoon-fed Photoshop tutorial. I'm Gavin Steele and I'm going to be taking you through Constantine's how to create a fancy photo manipulation tutorial. So check out the website psttoots.com and check out all the great little articles there and tutorials on all things good with Photoshop, and don't forget to check out our video section. And you can see there's loads of our videos on there and a few others that have been sourced from around the web. So this is the tutorial we're going to be going through today, and this is the end result, or something very, very similar hopefully. There's a number of files that we're going to use in this tutorial. All of the links as usual can be found in the tutorial itself, but I'm just going to quickly flick through the sites just so you can get an idea. So here's the background image we're going to be using from this DeviantArt page. We've got this image of a tree. We've got the image of the girl that we're going to be using. We've got some cloud brushes, some birds, stock image of the moon, some brushes of the moon, and some trees. Okay, so they're all the files that I've downloaded and got ready for the tutorial. And first thing we need to do is load up Photoshop. Now what I've done in Photoshop is, this is one that I've had to play around with and find image that I've got. Just going to minimize that, and we're going to start with this background image. So I just want to make sure you can see all of that. I'll just move this to there. Give myself a bit of room here. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to expand this canvas so that we can have this image duplicated. We're going to flip it horizontally and we're going to just overlap them a little bit, and then we're going to do some smudging and some cloning down the middle. So the first thing I need to go to is image, canvas size. I'm going to pop this way, that way, set it to percentages and just set that to 200 and click on OK. Right, once we've done that, I'm going to undo that really quickly. I'm going to duplicate this layer first. I'm going to do it with the duplicated layer, so just redo that one more time. Okay, and we're going to set that, like I said, to 200%. Okay, now I'm going to hold down Command J, and I've duplicated that layer again. I'm just going to move it over to the left. I'm going to zoom out in a second just so we get a better idea of the middle ground. So I'm just going to move this over. Okay, and just zoom out like so. Okay, so now it's about getting this middle ground so that it looks fairly even, it lines up. So I've actually moved the wrong file there, but that's okay. I'm just going to move that one back, grab the one underneath, and move that over. There we go, much better. So we want most of that on there. And this layer here, we're going to get to just overlap that little bit. Okay. Now grab this layer here, transform it, right click, flip it horizontally and hit enter. Okay, and I haven't quite overlapped that layer enough, so I'm just going to move it to the right, just like so. So we get rid of one of those trees there, and we're going to try and use this area here. So I'm going to grab those two, and we're just going to merge them onto one layer. Can grab the crop tool, crop it down like so. Okay, so once you merge them together, we need to start getting rid of this clear line down here. And again, we're just going to use the clone tool. So nice soft brush, hold down Alt, and we'll start down here on the grass. We're just going to get rid of this line and this area down here because it looks too uniform. So let's start with this area here maybe. And I'm just changing my reference point just to make sure that it doesn't quite look too uniform. Okay, grab this area down here. Just until you get rid of. Like so. And then we're going to look at this area right against the line now. And again, just keep changing the reference point. All I'm doing is holding down Alt in that area there and then selecting it like so and just changing it as we go. Okay, and let's zoom in a little bit. Yeah, that's worked quite well. But now I've got this light patch going down here, so again, okay. Let's get this dark area here. Very nice. Okay. Looking at this tree line now and the sky. Again, just Alt click, change your reference point. Going to shrink that brush down a little bit. Okay, now it gets a little bit fiddly down here, so make sure you shrink your brush down a little bit. And we're going to start here, I think. Can increase the brush a little bit. Okay, and I'm just going to zoom out. We can get a look at that. Okay, it's looking pretty good. You can't really see that there's a join there. We can see, obviously, that these trees are repeating and whatnot, but it's still quite a a nice background there. And again, I'm just going to go through the settings that I had my clone tool on. I had a nice soft brush set to 25. It was on normal mode. I had the opacity right down at 40%, and the flow was on 100%. And again, the more time you spend cloning, I could have spent a lot more time around this area here. We could even, if we grab this area here, we could continue this on over here and get rid of this green patch. Just so it's not so uniform. Like so. Just so there's that difference between one side and the other, and you can even trick the viewer into thinking, hang on a minute, is that a flip of that image? But how come the left side or the right side, these little things are slightly different? But once you've played around with that, it's actually a really nice little effect to get a cool background. The next thing we need to do is, after we've done all that, we've cloned it, we're going to bring in some clouds into this top layer up here. So I'm going to create a new layer. And we're going to call that clouds. Okay, we're going to change our colour to a yellowy colour, something like that. So what have I got there? It's E6D566. Click on OK. Head over to the brush tool, and we're going to use some of the brushes that we downloaded earlier on those links. Let's find my clouds. There we go. Just grab one. It's going to be massive. We're just going to stick it on there for now. That's okay. Going to create a new layer. Going to grab another cloud. Way too big. Okay. And then I'm just going to do one more layer for the clouds, and we're going to change the colour to like a tea-stained orange. Yeah, something like that's okay. And again, change your brush to a different cloud. We have that just over here. Like so. Then what I'm going to do is head over to the eraser tool, grab a nice big brush, reduce the hardness right down, and I'm just going to get rid of some of the layers here, just the bottom of some of this brush. Just shape out like so. And the same with this one here. Just want to free up some of this area here. Okay, but that's not bad at all. Now again, I'm just using the different tea-stained or tea-stained orange colour, just to add a bit of depth to that image. It might actually do with just one more in that colour. So head back to our brush tool, choose this little cloud here. Oh, I'm just going to bring that right down. Like so. Okay, and you're then going to grab all of those layers, just whack them into a folder. Call that cloud. Okay, next we're going to move on pretty quickly, and we're going to have a look at the birds next. Now, there's two ways of doing the birds. One, you can just grab yourself some brushes. There's lots out there, and you can individually put in small little flocks or individual birds. Or because I've got them, because I use them in another project, I've got these Go Media flock of birds, and I've just highlighted the vectors, copy them, head back into Photoshop, and paste them as smart objects. Click on OK, and then I can just move them into place. We have them flying slightly up. Hit enter and have a look at how they look. They look pretty good. I'm just going to lower the opacity down just a little bit. Like so. And again, play around with positioning of that. But I think it looks pretty good. It looks like they're coming from, let's zoom out, this side, but here maybe something scared them over on the right hand side. But I'm pretty happy with that. You want to leave a lot to the imagination, but you don't want to cover the sky at the same time with all those different birds. So once you put the birds on there, the next step is to add our moon. Now what I did for my moon was I just dragged this image of a moon straight onto the canvas, and then once it was on there, just scale it a little bit. Enter. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to mask out that black area. So if I just grab that, it should pretty much select everything. I'm going to inverse my selection and then click on my mask tool. Now you can see the edge, it's a little bit rough, but it doesn't really matter too much. We're going to stick it behind everything anyway. So that gives us that. It's still a little bit big, so again I can still scale it after I've masked it. Yeah, that's much better. Okay, and what you can do is, because we've got that layer masked there, you can grab a brush tool, grab a nice soft brush, increase the size a bit, we can zoom in, and then we can just brush out that area. So just to get rid of that edge with a quick selection. Maybe increase the opacity of that. Play around with the hardness. Get rid of the line here. So you've got a fairly smooth edge. And again, this is just one way, a really quick way that I've done to just whack that moon in there. Let's zoom out. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. We're going to play around with all the colours later. I'm just going to give that a yellowish colour overlay really quickly. Just trying to get something like that. Lower that opacity. Maybe give it a slight outer glow. Yeah, that looks okay. And then click on OK. So now we've got a background done, we've added some birds, we've added our clouds, we've added our moon. Next thing I'm going to do is add some trees to the right hand side, and then we're going to drag in our girl. So head over to our brush tool, head down to our trees. Let's make this a bit bigger. Let's grab this one here, looks pretty good. Create a new layer, and we're going to have this tree dark and on the right there. Yeah, that looks pretty good. In our foreground. In fact, what we can also do is just add it just to the edge here. Give the impression that maybe there's a couple of taller trees just up here to the right. And then opacity just a little bit. Like so. So all we're doing is we're playing around with brushes in the image just to give the idea of depth, excuse me, and just that little hint of a mist or fog coming in with the clouds, and the birds add a bit of movement to the image. Next thing we need to do is add the girl. Now, if I just grab this image down here, I've got my girl already cut out and a bit of the tree that we're going to use later. All I did was use the pen tool. I did a really quick job. You can see it's kind of cut a bit sharp there and along the bottom. I've just cut her out, and I've also already copied the hair from the back of her head, and we've added it just to the bottom left down here. Now the way that we did that is we select our lasso tool, we select a portion of the hair like so. In fact, let's set that not to feather at all. So like that. Then we just copied it. Ooh. moved it down to about here, dragged it underneath the layer, and obviously you can't see it now because it's underneath here, but that would have been underneath my arm because his hair didn't exist. And then just using the smudge tool, just smudge that in a bit so that it looks like the hair is just followed down. So I'm just going to drag and go straight onto our canvas. I'm going to put it down here. Okay, I'm going to add a few more trees, or at least a bit more weight to this tree. Get that up. Okay, and then I'm going to grab, let's put that opacity right up to 100%. I just wasn't happy with this area here showing through, but I didn't have my brush on 100%. So now I do. Okay. Increase that layer. There we go. I'm going to drag the girl below that layer so she kind of disappears behind it. And I'm pretty happy with where she is. Alright. Okay, so once you've got our girl on, we're going to start adding our wings. And again, this is just more brushes. Go to new layer. Grab your brush tool, and I downloaded the wings. I think they're butterfly wings. Again, you've got lots of different ones to choose from. I'm just going to go with these basic ones right here. I'm going to bring up my brush options. Bring that over here. Okay, let's bring the size down. Okay, so the first one we're going to do is the one that would be on her right shoulder blade, so it's going to be obscured slightly by the one that's going to come from her left. So I want that to be slightly vertical, maybe not that much. That's about right. And it doesn't matter that half of the wing comes over her shoulder, we're going to mask that off in a second. Just going to increase the size of that. I think that's probably fairly good. So that's about the size I'm going to go for. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose a yellow colour similar to that in the clouds. And then we're just going to go with that one. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to command click on the girl, inverse that selection, and then just mask it out. Like so. I'm going to create a new layer. We're going to put another one on. This time, play around with these a bit more. Okay. Again, select her, inverse that selection, and mask that bit out as well. Let's have a look at how that looks. Okay, looks okay. It's a little bit bright, so we just bring the opacity down on each of these. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that overall. We really want this to look like it's going right into the center of her back. It looks like it's going a little bit too far, so I'm just going to move that. I should have done that before I masked it, so I'll leave it for now, but this line here should look like it's going into the center of her back, but because her arm's slightly twisted, her shoulder's twisted over, it's actually quite hard to try and guess where the center of her back might be, but it's probably around here, so it should have looked like it was coming from there, but it's not bad. Still get the nice effect, and the yellow's quite nice, and again we're going to play around with the colours in a second, but that's all of the individual images that we need to add. There's actually one last one, the tree, and again I've already pre-cut that out. The just to save time. All we've done is use the pen tool to go around the tree, and then we've smudged out some of these areas here just to make sure that it kind of looks like the thin parts of the tree are all just like little fuzzy bits on the end. So I'm going to drag that straight in, stick that up in my corner, transform it a little bit, just make it a little bit bigger, like so. And that's all of the elements in place. All we have to do now is play around with the colour. We're going to add the little fairy up here. I'm going to quickly draw the flower and so on, and just try and bring it all together. So once we've put in the tree, we're going to add a little flower in her hair. So to do that, I'm just going to zoom in. We're literally just going to draw it out with the pen tool. So it depends how good your drawing skills are, or free drawing skills are. I've only got a Mighty Mouse, I haven't got my tablet. So we're just going to use brush tool. We're going to set it to a normal brush around 1 or 2 pixels. Change the colour to black, and then we're just going to draw the circle, the centre of the flower, about here. A little black dot like so. And then just going to draw out some of these. Petals like so. It doesn't have to be perfect. You could just go get an image and put that in there. Okay, that doesn't look perfect, but it doesn't look too bad. Actually, it looks pretty awful, but probably got too many petals in there. My idea of what a flower looks like is probably pretty poor, but let's grab that colour. I'm just going to add a little bit of colour in there. Then we're going to add some blue. This is the part I dread most, is free drawing of stuff, so let's have a look at how bad that is. Yeah, that's pretty bad. But you get the general idea, and if you check over the tutorial, it literally takes you through the 3 steps of drawing out the black outline of your flower, and then filling it in with some colour, and then doing some detail. The way I would have done it is I probably would have gone and got an image of a flower, cut out with the pen tool, and maybe pixelated a little bit, or just played around with the colouring. But you get the idea, and it's not, I mean, it is pretty horrific, but it's not that bad. Okay, once you've drawn your flower, the next thing that we need to do is play around with some of the grass down here in front of our dress. So I'm going to grab the smudge tool and head down to this layer here. And what we're going to do is we're going to smudge some of this grass up over this layer. Now, I'm actually not going to use a smudge tool. I'm going to grab the clone tool, hold down Alt, and let's see if we can, ooh, let's get that right down. Let's zoom in so you can see. Nice hard brush. And again, just select a bit of grass. Increase the opacity a bit. Just play around with opacity, length of the strokes, where you're selecting from. Direction. Just to make that dress look like it's really in the grass. Okay, just now the reason I'm selecting over here is not necessarily because of the shapes of the grass, just the different colours of greens and so on to give us a nice idea, and it helps with the blending as well. Let's zoom out, see how that looks. Okay, not bad. Ooh. Okay, we've got these bits now as well here that look like just coming up. Okay, that looks pretty good. So again, let's just zoom in and have a look at exactly what we were doing. We just create all these little lines here. Okay, all these little lines that pop up and add to the roughness. Okay, we might even just want to grab a few here. Now you might not think they do that much, but if you look down here, it just breaks it up just enough so that it looks like she's actually sat in the grass and the grass is just poking out. That little bit, it helps break up the lines. Okay. Again, that flower is horrible, but my free drawing skills in Photoshop are pretty weak. So we've done our grass. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to start playing around with some of the colours on the overall image. Now we're going to use a lot of light browns, kind of like trying to date the background, date the image a little bit. So the first one we're going to do is we're going to add a new layer, adjustment layer, and it's going to be a gradient map. So grab the gradient map, click on OK, and we're going to need to set this up. So the first colour we're going to use is 161 D1C. Ooh. Let's make sure we're in the right place there. So 161 D1C. The next colour, which is going to be just about here. Okay, we need to set that to be 322402. And then finally, let's just move that a little bit over here. This one needs to be 6A 5728. And they should go all the way to white. So that gap between there looks okay, and that gap looks there. Looks to be okay. Just increase a bit more of the dark area. Bring that down just a smidgen, and then click on OK. and finally click on OK. Once you've got that colour on there, what we're going to do is we're going to mask out some of that area. So we want to mask around this area here. We want to leave the brown over this area on the right, just poking through the top. So click on the mask, head over to the brush tool. Let's get a nice soft brush on black, and we can just get rid of all of the area just around here. Let's lower the opacity down a bit. There we go. Like so. Okay, the next one we need to add is another adjustment layer, and this one is going to be for the photo filter. Click on OK. We're just going to select the colour orange, click on OK, and again what that's going to do is add little hints here and there. And if we just make sure, I'm going to take a little bit of that off, like so. And then finally, well, I think we've actually got another two, we're going to put in an adjustment layer for curves. Okay, click on OK. We're going to grab it just at the area down here, and we're just going to drag that down just a little bit like so, so it darkens our image, and then click on OK. And again, we're going to mask out that area, so click back on the mask. We want to see all of this area here. Okay, that looks pretty good. You can see we're getting some nice colour variations now in the background, the clouds, around the trees, and the light purples and the yellows. Looks really good. So once you've applied that first curves layer, we're going to create another one. So go to create new adjustment layer, hit curves, and then we're going to do exactly the same again. Click on OK. We're just going to darken that a little bit more. Like so. And then on this layer, we're going to grab our brush tool, and we're going to go right across the image like that. The reason I'm doing this sometimes is because I've got it on 44%, so we want to make sure we really darken those black bits on the side. It kind of brings your attention into the middle and focuses on this fairy. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. That looks pretty good. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, so we're going to apply one more photo filter. So adjustment layer, photo filter, same settings as before. Set on color, click on OK. And then again, I'm just going to take some of that colour off of here, reduce the opacity a little bit. Like so. And then we're going to do one more gradient. So go to layer, new adjustment layer, gradient map, click on OK. We're going to set that up again. This time we need our first colour to be black. So we're just going to set that to 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. The next one is going to be dark brown, 4, 5, 4, 0, 3, 4. Next one, just getting lighter, is going to be 8E, 7E, 6, 4. And then finally, going to add another lighter one, C, F, B, E, A, O. Click on OK. That looks about right, almost evenly spaced. Bring that over maybe a little bit more. Click on OK and click on OK. Okay, once you've got that gradient, we're going to go back in and again, I'm going to mask out the areas that we want to keep. Not too much. I'm just going to go back. Start that one more time. Okay, so I just want to use the side of the brush, just get some of this green of the trees around her. There we go. So what we're going to do now is press Command A, go to Edit, Copy Merged, going to create a new layer, going to paste that so we've got everything we've done up to now is now on this image. There's one layer at the top and we're going to add our lens flare. So we're going to go to Filter, Render, Lens Flare. We're going to move it into place, so I'm just going to grab the cross and I'm going to move it so it's just on this tip here and hopefully in line with her eyes. So her eyes are looking like just off the tip of that. Maybe somewhere like that. And we're going to have that set to 60, 50 to 300mm zoom. Click on OK. Right, it's not perfectly positioned, it's a little bit too far left. So I'm just going to do that one more time. Filter, Render, Lens Flare. I'm just going to move it just to the right. Let's do that one more time. Filter, Render, Lens Flare. Okay, for some reason it doesn't want to give me that, so I'm just going to go back through the process again. Oh, that's why it's moved it right down to the bottom. Grab it there. And finally click on OK. That's a little bit better now. It looks like she's looking up to it, like maybe it's just jumped off that little tree there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to mask out that whole area around our little, if she's a fairy then I guess maybe it's a pixie or something else like that. Okay, so make sure you're on black, grab your brush tool, and we're just going to get rid of, let's increase the opacity. We're going to get rid of all these bits here, the secondary flares and whatnot. You just want our pixie like so. Okay, it looks a little bit like our pixie's just faded into the background layer there, so it's going to take a little bit of playing around until we get that looking just how we want it. So I'm going to go back in, I'm going to render the lens flare again. Just going to increase the brightness and maybe just drop them down a bit. Okay, that's a bit better. And then again, just going to mask out this area here. That's much better. Okay, so it looks like our pixie's just sat there on the end of that branch, and her eyes, they generally look like they are looking at it, so that's pretty good. Once we've done that, we're going to apply some dreamy effects to it now. So we're going to go to the adjustment layers, and we're going to select the channel mixer. So let's do a new adjustment layer, channel mixer, click on OK, and make sure you have it on these settings. It should be on blue. We're going to set the red to be +7. Just type that in. Green is going to be on -13. Blue is going to be on +94, so just bring that down. And then leave your constant on 0 and don't check monochrome. And then click on OK. And you can see that's made it's made a lot of difference there. It's kind of washed out those colours a little bit and just faded them in. The sky now looks a lot more moody, so that's pretty good. Now, just to get back some of that colour on there, again I'm going to go back in with my tool. I'm going to lower the opacity right down and just going to mask out. Like so. Okay, and then we're going to go back. We're going to create another adjustment layer, and this one's going to be for hue and saturation. I'm going to set that to be 0, 0, and then -22. -20 should be alright. And again, going to mask out this layer, and we're going to get a nice big mask somewhere in the middle. Like so. Once you've done that final little hue and saturation layer, that's pretty much the tutorial. So we've used a lot of little brush tools, we've used images, we played around with hair, we played around with this awful flower that I've designed here and wings, and we played around with a lot of the adjustment layers and masking of those adjustment layers to get what we want to shine through. And then we selected all, we merged all, and then we added our little fairy at the end. So I'm really happy with that. I think it's come across really nicely. It's a great tutorial. So don't forget to check it out over at psttuts.com and all of the other great video tutorials that we've got online there, and everyone's work over at the user group on Flickr. And of course check out Constantin's work over at his site and over at PST Tuts. Thanks very much. I've been Gavin Steele, and I hope you enjoyed that tutorial.